Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a new episode of Rose Lake Park. Finally, episode 4. This is going to be part 1 of who knows how many, because we have a lot to show you this time. At least 2 parts. We'll see. But this is map 4, and map 4 covers the 1920s decade. So the year we're looking at right now is 1929. We're going to get started here. I am Fisherman.
And I am Wolf Tenor.
And Bullethead worked on some stuff with us for this build, but he could not be with us today for the recording. So we were going to cover his stuff for him. And I have allergies going on really bad right now, so if I start sniffling or sneezing, it's not because I'm sad, it's because I'm allergic to something. First of all, big thing you might notice here is we have automobiles. So up to this point, didn't have a whole lot of cars. We had a few little trucks. We had the Major General's Roadster and the cool pickup trucks that Bullethead had built for us. But as of 1919, not a whole lot of people could afford automobiles, and there weren't really a whole lot to choose from. But by 1929, you had all sorts of cars you could pick from. Some of them were pretty affordable for the moderately affluent, and they had lots of colors to choose from. So we actually looked online and found that they actually had more colors to pick from back then than they do today, it seems like. So thought that was pretty interesting. Today it seems like you have black, white, silver, gray, and if it's a sports car, you might get, red or yellow or blue or whatever. So we're going to start here in the brand new parking lot for Rose Lake Park. I'm going to pan up a little bit. Come down here. So we started, this is the same main road that we looked at before. It has been paved all the way down. We have new yellow striping on the road because things are getting more modern. But the parking lot is still dirt, maybe shells or something like that, and some kind of primitive lighting going on here. That is what we have. And cars everywhere. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about in the parking lot?
No, I think you covered it all.
Okay. So that's the parking lot. So along the road, you're going to notice consumerism was a huge deal in the 20s. And advertising became a huge deal. So you see a lot of billboards. Look at old photos from the 1920s, and you see billboard advertisements everywhere. As the automobile was becoming more affordable and roads began to connect cities, they started putting up advertisement billboards everywhere. And so to help fund all this great stuff that they added to the park in the 20s, they started selling or renting off billboard space within the park and along the access road to the park. So you're going to see a lot of 1920s billboards as we look through the park today. Some of them are kind of funny. We picked some that were pretty funny. There's a couple over here that are kind of hilarious, actually. So, Bisto for all meat dishes, going to the meat. I have no idea what it is. Maybe some sort of lard or shortening or something. Not sure.
I'm not. Yeah.
No clue.
No clue.
No clue. Let's see. We've got Chesterfield cigarettes. Smoking was healthy back then. At least that's what they thought. And then this stuff. Dandy Shandy, Sarsaparilla, Nettles, Dandelion. So this was a soda. One thing that was going on during the 20s was prohibition. So a lot of companies started making non-alcoholic drinks to sell so that people would buy their stuff. People couldn't drink alcohol during this time period, so they had to be refreshed in other ways. And so look at this advertisement. Down goes the thermometer, down goes Dandy Shandy. The best of all non-alcoholic beverages.
But
Who
but when
knows?
I read that, I'm like, oh, it must be, like to cool you down during the summer. But if the thermometer is going down, then wouldn't you want a hot drink? Oh,
And then there was this one that was kind of crazy. Daddy's favorite sauce. So if it wasn't Prohibition, that might be something different, but Prohibition looks like it might be a steak sauce of some kind. Let's see. I don't know. So we'll check some of those out as we go around the park. There's some pretty funny ones. So we're gonna go down here. So we still have the main trolley line. Still using Matt Downs trolleys from 1919. So the park is still using those. The city's still using those. However, one thing that you'll notice coming up here is the trolley station has been relocated, and we have an all-new trolley station that has a more 1920s sort of cosmopolitan style to it. I'm going to let Wolf Tenor talk a little bit about the architecture here and where he got his inspiration from while we show it off.
well, this and the entrance, I kind of got my inspiration from some of the buildings at Rye Playland, which I believe is in New York.
Yes,
Okay,
Rye, New York.
Rye, New York, which was built. They had buildings about the same time in 20 and stuff. And so I was doing my research, and I'm like, okay, let's see what I can come up with. And basically was able to adapt a pretty classic yet very contemporary for the times looking building with space for a restroom and a ticket office and all the things you'd need at a trolley station, and then lots of space underneath. In case the weather was sketchy, then you wouldn't be out in the weather and could just wait for the trolley. In the shade too, if it was way too hot. So it gave it a nice arcade so that you'd have lots of places to sit.
Cool.
But,
And just like before, hidden inside is the peep injection point, so peeps can come into the park. So that's hidden inside the new trolley station. And we have a little bit of humor here, as always. So Major Stanley Wolf was expecting a delivery, and they must have brought it in on the trolley, because here it is, waiting for him to pick it up. Who knows what's inside? What do you think is inside, Mr. Wolf Tenor?
it's probably something very questionable.
Something questionable. Probably one of his Greek statues or something.
Statues or it's prohibition. If it's it could be Chinese crockery with then bottles of liquor hidden inside.
Maybe so.
You never know.
Here's some things being advertised. So we're right here at the entrance to the from the trolley station. Adeline's Restaurant, the Rose Savoy, which is a all-new theater, and Fascination was a brand new parlor game in the era, popular in amusement parks. So here is the other part of that architecture we were just talking about. So this is the new grand entrance building for the park, Rose Lake Park. Anything you want to add about the entrance building?
It's one. I would say it's one unique feature is the stained glass windows in the little tower.
Okay.
They represent each season of the year. So you'll have one for spring, one for winter, one for summer, and one for fall. And just
Who made
so
those
you kind of know that
windows?
the park is open all year long.
And those were made by Willie Bix. Willie
Yeah.
Bix. They have a whole set of stained glass windows, and some of them have a really cool Art Nouveau style, so that's why we chose these. They're beautiful. While we are here, perched up here on top of the entrance building, these new flags, these triangular flags, waving here, heavily starched flags waving here in the breeze. Mango Tango made those for us and shared them on the workshop, and they turned out really nice. So we have used them all over the park. We're getting our money's worth because they're really beautiful, and we hope you guys like them too. And if you do, make sure you subscribe to those and tell Mango Tango how much you appreciate them. I'm sure you would like to see them in your park. Okay, so 3 little ticket windows, have a little bit of detail inside. We have a little vintage cash register that we made, some mini blinds from the workshop. Buy your ticket. Overhead view for this part. So the entrance, the buildings of the entrance are kind of small. This is 1929. Amusement parks were kind of new-ish. They weren't the grand theme parks that needed huge entrance buildings with security gates and everything, season pass processing and all that. So there wasn't really a whole lot here yet. So we expect that as the park grows up, the entrance is going to expand as well. So you can see some transformation going on here over the next couple of decades for sure. But right up here at the entrance, you have a restroom building. Over here, we have a first aid building. And then just the main ticket booths there. Right here in the middle, you might recognize the fountain and the sort of compass rose sort of statuary thing on top. Those used to be in the middle of the koi pond that was in almost this exact same spot. So the park saved those during the reconstruction and gave them a new permanent home here in this spot. And that crow is back. He was up there before, and he has come back. He likes that spot.
He must have a nest somewhere close by.
Maybe. And then the little clock tower that Beyond Your TV made for us is still there as well. So we've got administration building from before. And then this is an all-new structure. So right here between Waggy's Japanese Garden entrance and the admin building from last time, we had a little open space, and we put the Rusty Horseshoe Steakhouse. And it's a full sit-down restaurant. You can eat inside or you can eat outside on the patio, looking out over the carousel area. Or you can eat here under the tree, listen to the wind chimes. Very peaceful. So, you want to talk a little bit about the architecture style you used here and what inspired you,
Sure.
Mr. Wolf Tenor?
I really wanted something sort of in the craftsman style, and just not have everything in the park be Art Deco. So I took a look at different things, and Fisherman sent me a few pictures of different, actually houses, and so I just cobbled a couple of them together, um, and gave it a much bigger patio and some balconies and some fun things. So you could have basically a sit-down restaurant on the main floor, and the basement is actually where the kitchen would be, and then upstairs could be offices or storage, um, for whatever the restaurant might need. Um, but the peeps in this park, they love their restaurants.
They do.
So
And
they
when we let the peeps in, they crowd all this whole area.
all the restaurants. So I was like, okay, if you want to eat in, then I'll keep building it for you, because that's what you seem to like. Like, I swear they only go to the food stalls out of desperation. But
And you can actually hear the dishes in the kitchen. So guys, if you download the park, make sure that you grab the sound effects files, and the billboard image files, so that you can fully enjoy the experience, because we have created a really cool soundscape for the park, lots of custom effects. Let's look at this building at night, because we have some neat stuff. You can see lights on in the windows. It's a busy, bustling restaurant. People must be hard at work down in the kitchen underneath as well.
And really, um, if if I was going to eat there, I'd want to eat outside because just the view from the
True,
front
let's take a look at that.
porch is of the whole park is just phenomenal.
True.
Pretty much can see all the way to the hotel and the carousel and everything. So
Right. Get a peek at some of the other stuff we're going to be looking at today. Very nice. Excellent work, Mr. Wolf Tenor.
well,
Did an
thank you.
excellent job on this building.
I
All right.
I must have a thing of restaurants. That's all I seem to build.
So that is that side of the little street. So let's look around over here. So we had some changes over on this side. This building, what did this used to be, Wolf Tenor?
This
Talk
was the
about this transformation here.
this was the original Rose Theater that Stanley Wolf decided that he had to have so that he could put on his shows. Well, come 1920 something, he was like, "Oh, this isn't big enough. We need a bigger venue." So he built a whole new theater, which we'll get to see later. But we were like, "Well, we have all this space now. What can we use this for? We need a gift shop." So decided to reuse the facility, repaint it, and freshen it up a bit, and make it our park gift store.
Excellent. Now, does it have a full interior like you like to build?
No,
No.
unfortunately not.
But we did put in these cool
But I did put
display
in some
windows.
display windows. I did do display windows.
Some of the cool stuff you can buy. And you know what? We might have a special guest joining us later in the video. Mr. Stanley Wolf himself said he might be able to join us. So we'll see if he can join us later in the video. Hopefully he can stop by. He's quite the character.
And that's yeah.
Yeah. Now this, as you might recall, used to be the absinthe-minded saloon. But we have prohibition going on. So what'd you do here, Wolf Tenor?
Well, I thought they wouldn't certainly let a space go to waste. So if we can't have alcohol, what's the next best thing? Well, ice cream.
Ice cream. Of
So
course.
decided to turn this into a very fancy ice cream parlor with a takeout and an actual sit-down dessert restaurant.
Awesome.
So the bar got a makeover, and the interior got a makeover in cotton candy pink. Still have the portrait of the founder on the wall and the piano, but for the most part, got an update so that the folks could come in and have a lovely dish of ice cream.
See this over here.
And then,
Oh my goodness. It almost looks like someone's looking at us through those little eyes.
it could be that this might be, I'm just saying might be because, it's illegal, but if there was a speakeasy in the park, maybe that might be the door to it.
So I wonder if
Because,
they had a secret knock. They probably had a secret knock.
oh yeah, they always had secret. Oh, definitely.
And then they would peep through the little eyes of the poster. That's very creepy. Very creepy.
So maybe the bar didn't go away. It just went underground.
It just went underground, literally underground.
Literally underground.
Okay. So next door, we have the Odeon Cinema. What used to be here?
Well, this was the original Nickelodeon, which was down actually on the Midway, and after the Great Fire was moved up here next to the theater and the saloon. Well, it was doing okay, but it was a pretty rickety structure. So it was decided, let's basically jazz it up and make it contemporary, because we're going to have now talkies and no more silent films. So we need a new theater. We need a whole new, up-to-date venue. So we're currently showing The Jazz Singer, but there's certainly more movies on the horizon. And of course, everybody in Peepsburg gets annoyed because their theaters aren't as nice as ours. It's got its own little candy and food counter, so you can buy popcorn and snacks before you go in and watch a movie.
Cool.
But we get all the latest stuff because I know people.
You know people. We have to be quiet because the movie's going on inside. We don't want to disturb anybody. In other words, we don't have an interior anymore.
Pretty much, yeah, that got kiboshed too.
Okay, and as you know, JP Marvel is famous for his hats. If you look at the blog, you will see some examples of those hats. And just be natural that he would put his own hat shop in the park, and that's what he did. So Wolf Tenor, kind of as a tribute, built this for him. As you can see in the display window, you want to talk about some of the hats you got going on in there?
Yeah, and just one of our basically big sellers is the chipmunk hat. And since they pretty much were quite a pest on the park, and you'll find them all over the place. So if a couple of them get snatched and stuffed, it's really not going to, it's not going to kill the population. But that seems to be. But we try to make different hats for the patrons to wear around the park. It can be a bit sunny in spots. Sometimes the shade is, depending on the time of year, can be brutal. So why not buy a hat and then have it to run around the park in?
A funny story is that chipmunk hat is based on a real hat that JP sold from his catalog, and I'll put up a picture of that in the video, but it's based on a squirrel hat that was in the catalog. They didn't really have squirrels at Rose Lake area, but they did have chipmunks, so he sold chipmunk hats instead. You might remember from last time the Great Peepsburg Flood show. Didn't last a whole long time. People kind of outgrew it. Once you pay a nickel to see the flood, it wasn't really worth seeing it again, so kind of waned in popularity, and it was a tragedy. People didn't really enjoy it anymore. So 1929, there was a budding dark ride company called the Pretzel Dark Ride Company, and they put in one of their early rides in Rose Lake Park. And so Wolf Tenor built this for us. So this is an very primitive dark ride. It's got some cool stuff inside. We're actually going to take a spin on it here. Anything you want to say before we take a ride on it?
Well, the outside of the building is the original flood building.
Okay.
So really, pretty much what I did was just was gut the interior, and then and I think I did add a little bit extra on the side there, just for sort of give and then the back just to give a little bit more room. But just went in there and gave our patrons a fun little dark ride, and they seem to like it because they're usually lining up out the door. for like the all of like 30-second ride.
It's a short ride. Want to take a spin on it?
Oh yes, of course, of course. Oh, that was too spoopy for me.
Too spooky for you. Very cool. That was quite enjoyable. So, dark rides back then were pretty simple. Lots of just dark hallways with flashing lights and buzzers. So not too elaborate. Didn't really have a set theme necessarily, other than kind of carrying over the castle sort of theme. So it kind of has sort of a dungeon kind of theme inside in some places. But yeah, outstanding work.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go on down the little hill. What is next? We have... I'm going to look at this at night. So this used to be, you might remember, was the baby incubator building. We're not sure what happened to all those babies. I guess they grew up, so we didn't need to be in the incubator anymore. They were done cooking. So this building became our penny arcade. So kind of copying the success of the penny arcades in Coney Island and places like that. The founders of Rose Lake Park put a penny arcade in the park to earn a little extra money. I actually made a set of vintage penny arcade games, blueprints. So entirely made out of existing in-game pieces and TMTK parts. So I will put those up on the workshop here eventually, so that you can download them for your vintage park as well. The early penny arcade games, so they had sort of primitive audio animatronics. They were more like clockworks. So I mean, you had lots of mechanical parts inside. The idea was you would put a penny or nickel or something in the slot and watch a little show or see a little animation, something happen. So I just made some up. I looked at some old pictures of vintage penny arcade games to come up with some ideas, and I made up some of my own just to kind of be silly. But this is one, a little, ballerina dance show going on. So idea is you'd put the money in, the little curtains would open, and the little ballerinas would do a little dance. Probably not worth the money, but, what can you do? They were showmen, right? One of the little test your strength and test the amount of love you have. I don't even know how those things work. But basically you would squeeze the little hand squeezer and the lights would go up, and it would, probably the harder you squeeze, the higher the number would go. But have a couple of those in there. Have this thing that I just completely made up, kind of based on sort of the pachinko game that you see, like an early version of it. This is a flea circus. And if you know what a flea circus was in real life, a flea circus didn't actually have fleas. A flea circus was usually like a little model of a circus, and it would have like the little teeter-totters and seesaws, but they were little mechanized things. So the little seesaw would go up and down, and the little trapeze would swing back and forth, but it was all mechanical. There weren't any actual fleas in there. It was just for show. But I decided to take it literally and put real fleas inside, so they were performing in the little circus tent, just to be silly. And then we have our Zoltar guy from the game. More pachinko games here. These are mutoscopes. So these are the little hand cranked little movies. So they're have like a big wheel of cards. So it's like a little flip book animation cartoon thing. So you could turn the little crank and put your eyes up against the glass and watch the little movie. So one of the movies is about the Peepsburg flood. You can still see the tragedy if you want. This one I totally made up. This is my robot chicken. So this is an animatronic chicken. Put your money in, and he starts eating this little fake corn there. Or her little fake corn there. Robot chicken. Claw machine. And then this one, put a penny in, and the clown will tell you a joke. So he will spit out a little card, and you can read the joke.
So it's a good place for him.
Yeah, they're in the corner. He's
behind
terrifying.
glass.
He's terrifying. He can't hurt you. As long as he doesn't get out, right? We don't have any clowns out in the open in this park, do we? I don't think so. I think they're all contained. So that's the penny arcade. Go inside, win a prize, have some fun. This little hill right here in the path probably won't last too long. I think they're eventually going to replace it with some stairs, probably. Certainly wouldn't want to go down that in a wheelchair. That would be pretty dangerous. So JP's whip, we put a cover on it. Peeps were complaining about the heat. The vinyl, or I guess not vinyl, leather seats or whatever they were made of back then. Got pretty hot in the sun. Birds probably pooped on them and stuff, so this was a way to keep it all nice. And they could ride it in the rain. It'd be a good ride to ride in the rain. So that roof, as you might guess, actually came from one of the picnic pavilions. Just reused it as the roof of the whip. So we have the game called Fascination. I built these Fascination games for Kaleidoscope Piers. So we used them here again. This was a brand new Parlor game in the 1920s. Sort of a combination of like skee ball and bingo. Connect Four kind of a thing. So you'd roll the balls up the little down the little board here, and they would hit the little ramp, go up in and fall into one of these holes, which corresponds to one of the lights that would come on. And the idea was to get 5 in a row. And so that's that. And you would sit here on the little bench and play. And then however many tickets you got, you would collect your prizes from the little prize booth down at the end. That is the Fascination Parlor. And the peeps actually go in there. We have a balloon shop inside, and they actually go in there and buy balloons. So, over here to the right, we have one of the stars of the 1920s, the park, built in 1929, the Dragon roller coaster. Frederick Church was a young coaster designer at the time, and if you look at it from above, get the camera to cooperate, sort of has a similar shape to the Rye Playland Dragon. And just like the Playland Dragon, ours also has a mill ride, old mill ride, built within the structure of the coaster. So we actually hired Frederick Church to build us a mill and coaster combo, just like he did for Playland in New York. So there you have it. We gave him sort of a Asian theme here, going around. The coaster is called the Dragon, and then the mill ride is called the Dragon Caves. So a whole lot of detail went into this. There's a lot going on just in the exterior even to make it look kind of realistic. The Dragon Caves ride is completely enclosed except for this little outdoor portion where there's a tiny little drop. It's reminiscent of Blackpool's River Caves. If you've ever been on that ride before, it has a tiny little drop at the end of the ride. I mean, it's probably like 5 feet tall. You barely get a splash. So we put one of those in our mill ride as well. It splashes into this little pond that's full of koi fish and lilies and water plants. There's that. The coaster. Do you guys remember what used to be in this spot? This used to be where the Vesuvius Scenic Railway existed before. And then coming out this way is where the Jackalope 2 coaster was before. Both of those rides were lost at some point during the last 10 years. And so they've been replaced. So this coaster, one thing that the Playland Dragon coaster is famous for is the Dragon Tunnel. And so we hired, when we hired Frederick Church to build our coaster, we're like, oh, we have to put a Dragon Tunnel on ours too, because everyone's going to be expecting it. So that's what we did. So we have a coaster, if we can catch them going around. Coaster trains come on, go up into the dragon's mouth, and then he poops him out on the other side.
You said it, I didn't. I was
It.
thinking it.
You were thinking it.
I was thinking it, yeah.
So let's take a ride. Take a nice, relaxing ride. What do you want to ride first, the Dragon Caves or the coaster?
Well, let's do the caves first, then we can do the coaster.
Okay, so we're going to take a ride on the Dragon Caves. Being sort of a tunnel of love type ride, much of the ride is in dark tunnels. Very much like Kennywood's old mill. So a lot of it was just wood painted black on the inside. Not a whole lot to see. So the ride has two tiny lift hills. That was the first one, and that's just to kind of get the boats up to the higher grade of the trough. So the water's kind of going downhill from this point for the rest of the ride. And as you can see, if you look around, you can barely see daylight poking through every once in a while. Be a good ride to sneak a kiss with your sweetie pie.
Just keep your hands where I can see them, okay?
Yeah, really. Like my grandmother used to always say, keep your feet on the floor. It's a long story. Too long for this. You can almost smell the moldy, musty smell, the water dripping from the ceiling.
It's not me. I took a shower this morning.
You took a shower? I think it's the ride. Pretty sure. Pretty sure. So lots of paper mache and I guess maybe concrete gunite, stalactites and stalagmites, and the star of the show, the big green dragon.
He just spit on me.
He just spit on you.
Yeah.
We are approaching the grand finale of the ride here. The huge, gigantic 10-foot drop. Wasn't that great fun?
So now my pants are wet.
What? Your pants are wet?
My pants are wet.
Oh, okay. It's a fun.
The station is very beautiful, by the way.
Why, thank you. Remain seated.
I can't believe he made me sit in the front seat.
Ha ha ha.
I know as soon as I scream, the bug will fly in my mouth.
Beautiful views of the forest, the countryside from the top. Excellent views of the park. It's a fun crossovers here in the middle. Eaten by the dragon. Pooped out by the dragon. And there we have it. That is the dragon. By fishermen with a little help from Frederick Church, famous coaster designer from the 1920s. There you go. Isn't that exciting?
I didn't throw up, so that's a good thing.
It's a good thing. Okay, so this is Wolf Tenor's favorite thing in the whole park. He loves clowns. So we have here the Fun Palace. Replaced the far end of the, I guess kind of the middle of the Jackalope roller coaster. So this is, there's actually a ride inside. There's a ride hidden in the back. So the peeps would actually come in. They enter here through the clown's mouth. And they go through the fun house. So it has some classic fun house elements. There's a mirror to make you fat, mirror to make you skinny. Thankfully, the skinny one comes after the fat one.
I need one of those in my house.
It's one of these old cakewalk things where you try to walk down the spinning discs. They were popular back then. Leather-covered punching bags you have to walk through. Walking up and down over the little humps. These were those stairs where the left side and the right side kind of oscillate back and forth while you try to go up. A lawyer's dream. And then more punching bags to maneuver between. So the peeps would go, this is where they would turn right. They would go up into the little cricket house. Cricket house area. And then they would, the exit would be, they would come out this door here and go down the slide to the front. And they would exit down here on the ground. So that's how the funhouse part works. But in actuality, the peeps in the park, they end up going down, they continue the queue through a little secret passage. And they end up riding one of the, what are those things called? Zozos?
The Zozo, yeah.
Zozo? So there's one of those hidden in the back. And they pop out over here through the little emergency exit. come back out here to the main walkway, main path. Wonderfully exciting. Okay, so then over here we have Caterpillar Ride. So these were popular back then. This is one of the kinds that has the canopy that comes over it during the ride, so it actually looks like a caterpillar undulating up and around. Gave it sort of a funny entrance and signage there. Not sure if they really would have done that back in the 20s, but I'm a fisherman. I have to do stuff like that. It's what I do. Grasshopper got some new foliage here in the front, kind of beautified it a little bit. Wolf Tenor did that for us. We have this beautiful floral clock. Tells the correct time twice a day. At 8 minutes till 2 a.m. and p.m. So, funny story about the clock. If you remember from the last video, I think it was the last video.
Yeah, I think so.
There was a piece of path in the park that we call it the rogue path because it's a piece of path that we can't delete. Basically, if you try to delete it, it crashes the game. We sent the park file to Frontier. They couldn't even figure it out. They were baffled. So we tried to figure out what we could put over it to hide it. And Wolf Tenor made us this beautiful floral version of the park logo. And then we decorated it with clock face and made a clock out of it. So hidden inside is that awful piece of path. Don't touch it. If you touch it, it'll crash the game. Okay. One thing over here. This is Bullethead's fire station. And he has updated for us, made us this beautiful fire truck. Don't worry, it wouldn't really have lightning on it. It's just when you move it. It's only when you move it. It's fine. Everybody's fine. But beautiful. It is a 1927 American La France. Get this correct. La France Model 91 fire engine. It has all the bells and whistles and sirens that a real fire engine of the day would have. Got your hoses stored here in the back. Everything you would need to put out a fire. Cool stuff. So that's pretty much the only thing that changed at the fire station, other than we turned all the horses into glue.
Oh, I wasn't going to say that.
Yeah, they're gone. The horses are gone.
They didn't go to a farm like my mom told me all our pets did when they disappeared.
Aww. They bought the farm.
Oh, was that what that meant? Oh.
I don't know. Okay, so what we have here, I'm going to turn it over to Wolf Tenor. And did he show up yet? Here he is. So we have our very special guest, Major General Stanley Wolf is with us. And so he's going to talk to us about his new theater.
No, greetings, colonists. Oh, good heavens! You mean they won the war? Oh, how unfortunate! How can I help you, my good man?
I thought you were here to talk to us about your new theater.
Oh, yes, of course. A project I'm very, very fond of. So, the Rose Savoy was built as a sister venue to the newly remodeled Savoy Theatre in London, which I performed many, many times. Ours can seat over 1,000 lucky patrons. We have a state-of-the-art backstage facility that can handle just about anything I can throw at them. Inside and out, there are 6 display windows representing our most popular shows, utilizing some of my own personal props for my most memorable roles, because it's always all about me. Anyway, it's our 20th anniversary season, so of course we will open with a brand new production of The Pirates of Penzance.
Of course. What
Of
else?
course, of course. It's an all new production featuring new sets and costumes and a water curtain. Oh, so excited about that. But there has been a bit of trouble by flooding the orchestra. So if you're inclined to catch a cold, my advice to you, sit in the balcony.
Excellent.
But all very much detailed. And let's say looking, it's pretty close to the one in London. So we're very proud of it. All up to date, electric lighting and all the good stuff that you need to have. It's just the old theater just wasn't big enough.
Is it big enough? Well, it's beautiful. The lobby is just exquisite. I'm sure the main house of the theater is equally beautiful, but we can't go inside because there's a show going on.
Yes, having a
And we
matinee.
don't want to disturb anyone inside.
Yes, you
Beautiful.
lucked out. You lucked out because I don't come on to near the end of this first act. So
Okay, good.
it was just pirates and ensemble doing girly things.
Well, let's look at the outside of the building while you continue telling us about it.
Yes, like I say, there's state of the arts air and heat inside too. So we have a balcony, an orchestra, and dress circle. So it definitely, whatever price range you can afford, and sometimes standing room only, especially if I'm residents. But oh look, if we're back here, you can see where the stagehands are hard at work loading in the show. Where is everyone? Yeah, they must all be on a luncheon break. Must be nice. But yes, this is some of the sets from Pirates. What's this?
Dear.
Well, you can't expect me just to have a cramped dressing room, can you? Well, I should say not. This is my house, if you will, or my dressing room for the theater. I needed a place to park the Bearcat out of the weather, so it's a small house, a replica of a carriage house on my property in Peepsburg on Society Hill, but a little Tudor manse with a lovely outdoor balcony for tea. And
What is the music I'm hearing?
no, who could that be on the gramophone? Oh, of course it's me.
That sounds a lot like you.
Yeah, of
Yes,
course it
it
is.
is you.
And my cat, Patience.
Oh,
And
Patience is,
yes,
of
and one of
course,
those.
about to attack that chipmunk, I believe.
Yes, there's bound to be a hat soon. And then, so that's upstairs. I have a bedroom and a nice bathroom upstairs, and then downstairs I have this lovely patio for al fresco dining, very private, with little
Beautiful.
fountains and wind chimes. Very, very nice. Those little intimate luncheon and dinners. Um,
Absolutely
and
beautiful.
and
Did you
inside,
decorate it? Did you decorate it yourself?
oh, of course I did. But I'm not going to have somebody else do it. One of my many talents. But yes, I've got a dressing room inside and a small kitchen and a rehearsal piano, just so I can lounge in between shows if I don't feel like going all the way back into town. Because, oh, good heavens, it's exhausting sometimes.
Well, we'd love to stay and chat with you.
But I've got a
Do you have any?
show.
Do you have any more time to talk to us?
Oh, well, maybe just a tad. But don't forget, don't forget to stop by the Swan later for a preview of a new spectacular. It's called a Moulin Rouge.
My
The
goodness,
yes,
that
the
sounds
Peep,
French.
yeah, very French.
Okay.
The Peepsburg Gazette called it scandalous, and the ladies from Journal review said an outrageous display of Parisian decadence. Yeah, it's going to be a sellout. I just so exciting. It'll make me tons of money. Oh, I just love it. Yeah. Anyway, I sort of,
Well, thank you for stopping by. We really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule And we know you
Oh,
are very busy.
yes, thanks for having me. I know they'll be calling me soon, so to get on stage. I'm already in costume and everything because I pretty much wear this all the time.
You wear it all the time.
Oh,
You are
yeah.
the Major General.
So one must do what must do.
One
All
must
right
do what one
then.
must do.
Well, have a
Okay.
lovely rest of the afternoon, and we'll talk to you soon. All right.
Well, thank you. All right, we'll talk to you later. Wow, that was a treat.
Boy, did we luck out.
Exactly.
Usually,
Okay.
you have to pay for that kind of stuff. So
You have to pay for that kind of stuff.
you just don't get an autograph with AMG. I mean, yeah,
No.
it's going to cost you.
Well, before we go, we're almost done here, but before we wrap up, let's take a look at some of the cool stuff in the behind the scenes backstage areas we got. So we started kind of ramping up the realism, trying to a little bit. Planted lots of weeds. Shout out to Coaster Monkey. He likes to plant weeds in his parks too. We had a nice joke about that today. So we got lots of weeds in the park. Wolf Tenor has been adding some fun stuff. Every time he takes the park for me and I open it back up, I find more stuff that he's added. So
Just mysterious crates and
serious
um,
crates. We're kind of trying to one up each other. This is one that I actually edited for him. So this is the back of the fun house. So I know Wolf Tenor doesn't like clowns. So I put a nice crate there from Derry, Maine, which of course is the location of Stephen King's novel It. So I would not open that crate if I were you.
no.
Wolf Tenor, probably not a good idea.
There's one behind the arc too. Don't forget that.
Oh, that's true. Go over there behind the arc. So we have a funny one back here. So we took a good look at the arc in the last video. On the outside here, Acme Genuine Giraffe Head. So you're telling me that this is a real giraffe head up here?
No, it's a fake one.
No wonder the crow likes to eat the eyeball. That's gruesome.
We got to replace it eventually because the crow's going to end up eating the whole head after.
Okay, so where else do we have some backstage stuff? So over here,
behind. Well, there's
behind.
we can show the warehouses, all the stuff behind the warehouse.
So we have these new backstage warehouses. The park is growing up. They need a place to, paint signs and store the supplies that they need in the off season and things like that. So we have these cool backstage warehouses back here. They store stuff behind some of the shops as well. Here's some of the extra signs the park isn't using right now. Tell me if I miss anything. I know you added some funny stuff too.
Trying to think what's back here. In the wagons or in the.
Underground. Oh, I know what that is. That's part of the flaming wagon. I discovered that by accident the other day.
Oh, yes! Don't touch the wagon.
I was lowering it down to the ground just a little bit because one of the wheels was floating, and it burst into flames. And I was like, "Oh my
god!" Surprise!
So we have that.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Oh yes.
A crate full of 10 anvils from Acme. If you're familiar with the old Looney Tunes cartoons, and if you're not, shame on you. That means
exactly. Why aren't you?
A little kid and we are getting old. But this was our Saturday morning cartoon staple when we were kids.
And Acme pretty much sold everything.
They did.
So
they were a real company. They might still be a real company.
It might be. I don't know.
I didn't notice this before.
Oh,
they're packed
crockery?
in the straw. Yes, that's perfect. You're so good at this. Every time I explore, I find something new. Oh, this was JP's smoking area.
Yes, that's the smoking area.
Joking about that before. He could smoke his Chesterfields because they were healthy.
Mm.
Okay, so that's the backstage stuff. We got them all. Well, we've been talking for an hour. Part of that is because I say a lot, and I'm going to be editing all those out. So it'll probably end up being like 50 minutes. Probably 10 minutes of ums. So we're going to end it here. And we're going to pick up pretty much in this spot with the next video. So as you can see, looking there through the trees, that's about what we're gonna look at next. We're gonna wrap it up. The park file, we're gonna release it with the second video, which will come out probably later this week, next weekend maybe. So stay tuned for that. If you haven't subscribed to us yet, please subscribe so that you can make sure you follow along with the story of Rose Lake Park. We plan to keep going as long as we can. We're gonna keep adding, each map will be a different decade. So the next map, we've already got some great ideas. We have 2 people, special guests, making stuff for the 1930s map for us. So we will be able to showcase that. Eventually, I start back to work in a couple of weeks. So things are probably going to slow down a little bit, but we'll be building on the weekends and things like that. We're going to keep going with it. Stay tuned for that. Check out the blog. Wolf Tenor has been updating the blog for us recently. I'll put a link to that in the description of the video. And we're going to go ahead and say goodbye for today. But I am Fisherman.
And I am Wolf Tenor.
And we will catch you guys next time.